Want to turn your followers into paying clients? Try creating a mini portfolio carousel in Canva to pin to your profile so that it helps you sell your work every time someone visits your Instagram. I'll show you exactly how to design it, what to include, and throw in some useful Canva tips throughout as well. Ready? Let's do this. You can start by pulling together 3 to 5 examples of your work that match the exact projects you want more of. The things that you can present in this mini portfolio are really varied, so you can curate your best projects, any UGC examples or social deliverables you've done for a brand, or maybe client case studies in a simple form. Let me give you a few examples just to show what I mean. If you're a landscaper, you could include your absolute top projects or even organize them by season to inspire potential clients on what they can achieve in their own gardens. As a UGC creator, you may want to showcase your past deliverables and include stats that help other brands make an informed decision. As a personal trainer, you could show transformations. As an event planner, amazing photos from best events, and as a business consultant, before and afters with KPIs. Basically, you want to inspire your followers to see what types of results they may potentially see if they work with you. Oh, and I hope it goes without saying, but you should always get consent from your clients to be able to showcase their work or use their testimonials anywhere, whether you do it on your website or on your socials too. And this includes snippets of their positive feedback from your DMs, even if you don't include their name. I feel like it's a little side note, but it's very important to mention. We're jumping right to designing the slides, and think of this first slide as your hook as usual, but also as a warm hello. This is why it's a good thing to add a friendly photo, which will help people connect the work they're about to see with the person behind it. I would also include your email address just so that it's easy to contact you, and it's almost like a visual invitation to get in touch as well. By the way, if you want this template, I've linked it for you down below, so you can just use it to create your own mini portfolio easily. Now, I'm going to use my own template just to make things a lot easier for myself and also just to speed up the demo. I'd keep the message clear in here as well and call it what it is. So I'd go for the heading as a mini portfolio. So let's change that to mini portfolio. And then under it, in very plain words, you can just tag the words that describe who you are. So if you're a brand designer, like commercial photographer, maybe, email strategist, something like this is where I would put it. So let's say nutritionist, content creator, social media influencer. Now, a little tip from me, what I love to do when I gather any materials for a design or maybe for a presentation that I'm doing, I love to open up a little whiteboard for myself just to make sure that I'm gathering all the assets, all the different photos and videos and stats, like in this case, in one place. So I open a new whiteboard as a new page. You can see that I've already gathered different types of things in here. So this is my little tip to make sure that if you've got something a little bit more complicated in terms of the design, you can just gather those assets in here so you don't, again, scramble for different things and jump from app to app. You all have it in one place. So let's grab this photo right here and I can just place it over this one and just center it. Make sure that we've got it in here. I'll just crop it to make it a little bigger, maybe just like that, just so that it leaves enough space at the top for the text, but also showcases that person in here very nicely. So maybe something like this works. I would also include an email address in here just so that it's easy to contact you, and it's also almost acting like a little invitation for your audience to then contact you. So this is what I will do right now. What you can do is to hit R just to pull up a rectangle. I'll go and grab this color in here, which is exactly the one I've got at the top, just like that, and then just make a little box, maybe like this. Now, I like to stylize it at this point as well, just to tie it all together very nicely. So first, I'll add just 1 point of a stroke weight in here, and then I'll keep it as black. And you can see that already we've got this little outline around this rectangle. And then I'll go to corner rounding and add around 15 in here, just a very delicate shape to it. Let's move this in here just like that. Now, I'll hit T quickly just to add some text, and I'll change this font to Poppins. Poppins is a favorite for the majority of people. I feel like it's such a good font. So I'll go for Poppins bold or maybe extra bold in that case. Let's go for a whole thing in here. And this is the email address. Now, I feel like to tie it all together, I'm going to go for all uppercase just like this. And let's place it in here and then make it. Next, what I want to do is to just go in here and find an email icon. So let's search for something. Okay, let's say this is the one that I want to use. And what I'm going to use, of course, as a color to tie it all together is maybe this olive green in here. So again, we're trying to stay on brand and keep everything nice and polished. So this is what I'm going to do. Let's close the left panel just so that it's out of the way, and I would just balance these elements together. All right, this is what I ended up with, and now I'm just going to skew it ever so slightly just to add a little bit of motion to it. Next, we have our About Me slide. This is where you talk about who you are, but also very, very importantly, your audience or your clients. You want to show the type of people you work with, and if you work with brands as a creator, you want to showcase clearly who they can connect to by working with you. I'll show you how to create this mini portfolio with an example of a UGC creator, just because there's a lot more that I can show you this way. But for the actual portfolio slides, you will see variety. Okay, let's add another bit of text just to make sure we're adding information about the audience or the types of clients you're working with. Let's go for regular pop-ins, and something around 19, I think, should be absolutely fine in here. So let's add that text I've got and I've prepared for myself before. Of course, you could already have pitches available for yourself, or you've created these little snippets, so this might be useful to use it in here. Of course, you can also go ahead and use something like Magic Write to help you flesh out this part. Now, this space in here below is the space of infinite possibility, really, because again, as I've mentioned before, there will be variety in terms of what you present in this portfolio. So there may be different things that you want to showcase. Now, what you could do is maybe add some brand logos in here. So for example, you could just go to your specific set of logos that you've got from working with clients and you got that permission to use them, or you can go to brand fetch and maybe find something specifically. So if you go to brand fetch, you'll be able to pull up different logos in here. So let's say maybe I've worked with Canva before, or I've worked with different companies. I could go for something like this and then just add them in here and maybe add a little bit of a headline. So I'll just grab it maybe from here, just like this. And then I could say in here, worked with. Then of course you can just keep adding different logos. What I want to do instead in here, of course, because this would be a slide for a UGC creator, I want to showcase the stats, right? So in here, of course, I have my icons. You can go in here and keep searching for, like I've searched before for an email icon, for TikTok, for YouTube. You'll find all of them in here. Let's go for just these three, and I'll place them in here just like that. So you can see they'll just act as a little bit of a visual. Now, my little tip in here is to make sure you're using the features that Canva has to make your life much easier. So sometimes it's very tricky to just align these three or more elements. You can just select all of them, go to position at the top, and go to tidy up. This is one of my favorite features that I literally use on a daily. And this way you have equal distances between these icons. So this is a great way to just keep things tidy. Again, just use the guides, right? So you can see that there are 55 pixels from the bottom of this element below, and then also 55 between the text above, so it's all nicely balanced. Now I'm going to grab this headline in here. Again, we're trying for a little easier way of managing things, so I'll go in here and start placing the stats. Let's say this one was 200K, then the second one would be 127K, and we'd have 52.1 thousand subscribers in here. So let's say this would work in here. I'll just align all of those to the top like this. Let's move them to the side just like this, just to give a bit more of a breathing space in here. Now let's grab this one again and say followers. I think for all of them it will be followers. No, we will have something else for YouTube, of course. So let's say followers in here, and I'll just use my arrows to push it ever so slightly lower. This is very important just to balance things out a little bit. Okay, let's say this is what I'm happy with. Now I want to grab this element, and by holding Alt, I'm just going to drag on top of it. And this way I know that I'm just duplicating this element. So this is perfect. And then let's go for the last one, which would be subscribers. And of course, we want all of it in uppercase, just like this. And this is what I ended up with. Let's just group these elements just so we can use tidy up on these as well. So let's select all of them and go for tidy up. And you can already see that it aligned everything perfectly. So this is what it looks like in here. Again, the goal would be just to make things visible at a glance and make sure that everything's nicely balanced. Then we can go to the side in here just to grab our assets. Again, you can keep uploading them. You can grab something from the Elements tab. I just want to make sure that I'm consistent with the person that I'm using in this demonstration. So I'm just going to pop it in here. And of course, by double tapping, you can then just reposition this ever so slightly just so that everything matches perfectly. And now let's move on to showcasing your work. Of course, these will be as different as the work you do, but I want to show you a few different slides here for inspiration. First, I'll show you my audience here, but know that this would most likely not apply to non-creators. I just want to show you how to do it so you can think outside the box. For an audience slide, I want to show 4 main categories. So this would be your main demographic based on gender. Then you've got top age group, top locations, and also the general description of the psychographics. So who your audience is, what they're interested in, what their income level is as well, things like that. You can just enter in here just so you've got that mental picture as well. And again, if you're showing this to other brands, showcasing it as a mini portfolio, this can be very helpful for them as well. So let's fill it out in here. Let's say 50% in here, then gender would be women. Again, the idea in here would be that you're grabbing these stats specifically from your platforms. I have this little kind of placeholder of a stat in here, so I can just place it in here. Now, I could go for something like this, but I actually want to just fill it with white, just that it serves as a bit of a baseline. Now, my little tip in here for Canva, if you ever want to place something on top of a frame that just keep snapping into it, but you actually don't want it to go into the frame, just hold control, and that's going to allow you a freedom of movement as much as you want. So you'll be able to just add it on top of it without just placing it within that frame. So this is a great tip in here. You can also go ahead in there and then just group it together, and then you don't have to worry about cropping it within the frame or then redrawing the frame or changing the shape of it so everything's perfect. So let's say United States in here would be the first one. So United States. So this is the idea, right? That you're showcasing maybe just 1 bit or 2 bits in terms of your analytics, something that the brands that you're working with would be the most interested in. So this could work like this. So I'll go for India and Philippines in here. And then let's say this is 7%. Let's say this is almost 10% and then 30% in here. The age group would be 24 to 36. And then this is a little description for this specific audience type. So again, desire for self-expression, community-oriented, strong interest in personal development. Again, these are little clues for the brands who want to work with you that you may be aligned in terms of what your audience goals are and things like that. So this is quite important to include in here. Next, we can actually show off a specific project. So let this one be a branding project if you're, say, a brand designer. So let's say branding project in here. And then the name in here would be Grind Cafe, just like this. Now let's grab 2 of these photos in here just because I want to showcase something in here. Of course, full disclaimer, I've generated those with AI because I am not a brand designer. So I just wanted something to show in here. We'll go for these 2 photos like this. Apart from this, I would definitely include the aim in here just because I feel like the understanding of the why behind the project can help potential clients realize what the ask was and then how the brand designer was able to actually bring it to life, and for a bit of a visual oomph in here at the bottom, because again, similarly to the About Me section, we have a little bit of space in here, so we could maybe add another photo, but let's add a color palette in here just because it's a branding thing. So let's add these green ones and pink just like that, and this ties it all together nicely and visually. And again, speaking of visual interest, let's keep slides a little different. Let's move sides a little bit, keep the audience on their toes a little. So again, the text goes to the left and the visuals to the right, just to make sure that we're playing around with the form. Now, going back to the creator, let's show a brand collaboration now. Again, we have the headline in here. So the brand name for this one would be Super Greens. And then the type of a project would, of course, be a specific deliverable in here. So I could say maybe UGC Reel plus stories. Then below, we're definitely doing the aim in here. So what you've crafted for that specific brand and how you work with it. And then again, the space of infinite possibilities in here again, right? So in here, I decided to actually include a little bit of a key stat snippet just to make sure that we're adding those statistics so that brands know that working with you is actually beneficial to them as well. So we've got link clicks in here and comments. Again, similarly to before, you can literally just grab something from here and then add it to this page like this. So this is how it works. It's very easy. Now from here, what I want to do, of course, is to show the actual deliverables. So for here, what I've got is kind of the story series and the reel. So I'll copy them over just like that. And then from here, what I can do is to just place them on top just like this. Then I'll add this one in here and this one on top. And of course, we're missing a little bit of a logo because we want to showcase who we actually worked with. So I'll go for this logo in here. And then what I could also do just to indicate what these deliverables actually are, I'm just going to use this piece of text in here just to show voiceover reel just like this. And maybe I'll just move it to 90 degrees, just at an angle, just so we can push it to the side just like this. And then I can do a duplicate. Again, a little tip, hold Alt, and this will just add it in here. And then from here, I can say story series. Now let's balance it beautifully. So I'm just moving this like that. And you can see that already it's coming together very nicely. Next, we can actually do something a little different and show a commercial photo shoot. So let's say commercial/lifestyle photo shoot. And for the title, let's say this would be Urban Spa. Of course, we're going for the aim in here as well. And then we have spaces for these graphics like this. I actually have them prepared in the exact same thing just because I wanted to save us some time. So I could literally just superimpose them on top in here. But the idea would be that you would be adding your own photos into those frames. Again, try to use Tidy Up. This is perfect for these kinds of grids and things of that nature. By the way, I think maybe with a second cover in here, this could be maybe a commercial shoot, maybe for just videographers. So let's say Badeni in here, just like this. This is a really great thing. Let me just add that for you. So this is grids. Grids are really amazing. I know a lot of people are using frames, but grids literally give you different layouts for how you can structure your images. And these resize very easily as well. So you can see that when I added it, let me just remove that one just so that it's easier to see. You can see that when I resize it, it actually just blends this whole thing together and merges things and just makes sure that the distances between those are equal and you're just kind of changing that layout very easily. So this is something that I really love to use a lot, especially when you're, again, showcasing photography or maybe doing nice collages. This is great for posts as well. So this is a very easy way just to find things. Like a little tip in here, this particular type of a grid I use all the time for creating brand palettes. So really play around with the grids. One tip or extra tip on top of a tip, what I want you to know is that you can actually change the spacing between the grids. So if you don't want any breaks in here, you can just actually adjust it from here. I'll show you how that works in just a moment. Let me just grab these 4 images in here and add them on top just so you can see it. These are actually videos, so you can just add them one by one just to showcase that whole videography work and just align it perfectly like this. You can see how it works. And again, back to that spacing, you can see that if I increased it, this will increase the spaces between it. So this is how you can very easily change the vibe of the whole grid as well. So this is quite a cool effect. And of course, this is not the end. We also have to include our CTAs. And this is arguably the most important slide of all because you want to invite people to work with you through a call to action. Now, in my last slide, I'm just going to include something very generic in here. So I'll say, let's work together. But remember that you don't have to do super basic CTAs if you're presenting something very specific in your portfolio. So you can prompt your audience to, say, book a call or maybe DM for an audit, something like this, whatever works for you and for your offer. And of course, if you do the same thing on your profile, so if you show yourself on your profile, I suggest you also add a photo in here because, again, it helps humanize you. They will know who they be working with. I feel like it's a very good thing to do because people buy from other people nowadays. They just want to know a bit more about you. Let me actually just grab that image from here and just pull it on top so that we're doing two things at the same time. But again, I feel like including your photos in here is just adding a bit of trust and then adding an actual face behind the business. So this is what you would do in here, even if it's a small thing. Then we'll go for Sandra Bellagio in here. And you can see that, again, this is your way to prompt them to contact you, to work together. Now, I want to also mention something in here because you may not have noticed it. The way it worked on this particular carousel is that I added these borders at the very top. And as you can see, once I just quickly click through those, you'll see that they change the colors, right? And the effect that it would have, they're always in the same spots, but the effect that it would do is that when you swipe, these are actually seamless. So you don't have to create a seamless carousel in here and then cut those. You can actually have those little elements. This is an extra tip, maybe an advanced tip in here, just to create that little fun effect at the very top. So if you'd be kind of doing things like this, doing something like this, or if you'd be using this specific template, make sure that you're just interchanging those in here, and you can always just grab anything that's in the middle and then plop it on the other page like this. So these are our slides. You can see the variety in here. So this is something that you can create for yourself. Just again, invite people to buy from you. Once you post, you can pin it to your profile so that it stays visible to everyone who visits. All you have to do is to tap and hold the post, then choose Pin to Main Grid. It will show up at the very top now. If you don't feel like creating a portfolio post like this by yourself, then grab the Canva template to make things easier using the link down below. All you need to do is to then plug your images, colors, and fonts, and you're sorted. Let me know in the comments if you're going to create a post like this, and if so, what you're showcasing there. I'd love to hear about your best work. Make sure to watch this video on the most useful, the most functional Canva AI features. Leave a like, hype if you can, and subscribe for more videos on content and Canva. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.